The bell above the diner door rang softly as the stranger stepped inside. Rain dripped from his jacket, boots worn, posture calm, eyes scanning without effort. He didn't look dangerous. He didn't look important. Just another tired man looking for coffee and silence. The diner was already loud. Laughter burst from the counter where the sheriff sat with two deputies, badges shining, voices louder than necessary. Everyone knew him. Everyone feared him. In this town, his word wasn't law, it was punishment. The stranger took a seat near the window, back straight, hands relaxed. He placed his jacket beside him and ordered black coffee, no sugar, no cream. The sheriff noticed him immediately, not because he looked suspicious, but because he didn't look intimidated. Most people avoided eye contact. This man didn't even glance over. That bothered the sheriff. He stood up slowly, boots heavy on the floor, the room quieting as he moved. He stopped beside the stranger's table, towering over him. "You new around here?" the sheriff asked, voice thick with authority. The stranger looked up calmly. "Just passing through." Something about that tone, steady, emotionless, made the sheriff's jaw tighten. "Passing through without saying hello?" he sneered. "That's rude in my town." The diner froze. Forks stopped mid-air. The waitress held her breath. The stranger didn't rise, didn't flinch, didn't know I needed permission to drink coffee. That was it. The sheriff's hand came from nowhere. A sharp slap echoed through the diner. The stranger's head turned slightly from the impact. Coffee spilled. Silence exploded. Gasps filled the room. The sheriff smiled, drunk on control. "Now you do." Slowly, very slowly, the stranger wiped the coffee from his hand. He stood up, not aggressively, not defensively, calm, too calm. "You shouldn't have done that," he said quietly. The sheriff laughed. "Or what? You gonna cry to someone? There's no one here to save you." The stranger met his eyes for the first time, and something changed. There was no anger there, no fear, just cold awareness, the look of someone who had faced worse than bullies with badges. The sheriff scoffed and turned away, already bored. That's when the stranger reached into his jacket. Every deputy's hand went to their weapon, but he didn't pull out a gun. He pulled out a phone. One message, one location sent. Then he placed the phone back in his pocket. "You've got about 3 minutes," he said. The sheriff laughed harder. "For what?" The stranger stepped back, hands behind his back, posture suddenly military. "For backup." Exactly 2 minutes later, the diner windows shook. Black SUVs rolled in like a storm. Doors opened in unison. Men and women stepped out, disciplined, silent, unmistakable. No badges, no noise, just presence. The sheriff's smile vanished. One man entered first, eyes scanning, then locking onto the stranger. He stopped, snapped to attention, and saluted. Every color drained from the sheriff's face. "Chief Petty Officer," he said firmly, "we've got eyes on you." The diner erupted into whispers. The stranger finally spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "I didn't want this," he said. "I came for coffee." He turned toward the sheriff. "But you put hands on me, and now you answer for everything." Another officer stepped forward, holding a tablet. Corruption, abuse of power, evidence collected over 6 months, witnesses secured. The sheriff stammered. "You can't. I'm the law." "No, you pretended to be." Handcuffs clicked. The same hand that slapped him now trembled. As the sheriff was led away, the stranger turned to the diner. "You don't need a badge to do the right thing, but you do need courage." He picked up his jacket, finished his coffee, and walked out. leaving behind a diner that would never forget the day power met discipline and lost. The diner didn't move for a long time after the doors closed. No one spoke. No one breathed normally. The sheriff's chair still rocked slightly from where he'd been pulled up, the badge he wore now lying forgotten on the floor, a symbol stripped of meaning. The waitress finally exhaled. People stared at each other, unsure of what they'd just witnessed. Some had lived in this town for decades. Some had feared that man for just as long. And in a matter of minutes, it was over. Outside, rain mixed with flashing lights. The stranger stood beside the black SUVs, speaking quietly with the team. No raised voices, no celebration, just efficiency. One mission ending as another prepared to begin. "Was that really him?" one deputy whispered inside the diner. "A Navy SEAL?" Another nodded slowly. "You don't fake that calm." Across the street, phones came out. Photos, videos, messages spreading faster than anyone could stop them. The town woke up in real time. By morning, the news vans arrived. Headlines exploded across screens. Corrupt sheriff arrested after assault in local diner. Federal task force uncovers years of abuse. People who had been silent for years finally spoke. Store owners, teachers, former deputies, even family members. Stories poured out. Threats, bribes, disappearances, broken promises buried under a badge. The stranger never gave an interview. When asked, the response was simple. He wasn't there to expose anyone. He was there for coffee. At the station, the sheriff sat alone, hands cuffed, eyes hollow. The power he'd worn like armor was gone. All that remained was fear, the same fear he'd forced on others. A federal agent leaned in. "You slapped the wrong man." The sheriff swallowed hard. Back at the diner, something changed. The waitress smiled more easily. The cook laughed louder. The regulars sat taller. A quiet strength replaced years of tension. On the wall near the counter, someone taped a handwritten note. "Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it orders coffee." No one knew where the stranger went. Some said he drove straight through town and never looked back. Others swore they saw him weeks later, sitting in another diner, another road, same calm eyes, watching, ready. Because people like him don't look for trouble. But when trouble finds them, it ends.